All right. And
Thank you.
then Charles, you can introduce yourself if you want, but man, I'd sure love a shot at it. So, Charles Byrd, I'll say a few things about you first. Charles Byrd is somebody who is really, really good at what he does. He knows more than probably anybody else I've ever talked to about affiliates and JVs. Excuse me. Like actually getting all of that stuff done, like the deep work of what connections have to be made, what are the relationship sets, how does the process flow. This is definitely a dig your well before you're thirsty kind of thing. You don't go out and get JVs and affiliates tomorrow. You know who you want to get a month from now, 6 months from now, years from now, 2 years from now, and you build that bridge, and you build it with integrity and with intentionality. And that's Charles' gig. So Charles speaks at lots of masterminds, lots of stages, really amazing influencers who do really high powered JVs and affiliate deals all the time. Charles, thank you for taking the time to educate and invest in us.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I'm just going to check my mic level. Looks good. Cool. So, thank you all for introducing yourselves. I live in Northern California.
Oh, sorry, Charles. Sorry. Can you unmute yourself real quick? I'm sorry.
That would help, wouldn't it?
I just no, it was my fault. I just muted everybody else except for you, so it would get any background noise. So start again.
Sure. Yeah. So, my name's Charles Byrd. I live in Northern California with my wife and two daughters, and do travel quite a bit speaking and putting on joint venture workshops and work with folks to help them scale their businesses with joint ventures. So I'm excited about today's presentation. You'll definitely want something to take notes with. It's This whole presentation is geared to educate on how joint ventures work, and there's a ton of tangible, actionable things that you can and should be picking up and running with coming right out of this. So there's a ton to cover. So I'll go ahead and share my screen. We'll dive into it. As mentioned, we'll do Q&A at the end just to make sure for folks watching later, it's run straight through, and I'll be happy to stay on and answer questions. So today we're going to be talking about how to attract and connect with ideal joint venture partners. This will grow your revenue streams, referrals, speaking opportunities, ways to get in front of other people's audiences, so that you can share the products and services and impact that you help folks with. So one way to view this is who already has your same customer, your ideal customer, and who is creating your ideal customer is in what communities, groups, programs are they in that as they come out the other end, they're perfect for you. And I'll share a lot of examples for that. Who is your ideal customer following? Now, imagine 30 days from now, you're in front of 1,000 of your ideal clients, leveraging someone else's audience, someone who's built a great community following, and they are bringing you in to share your message about the ways that you serve and support and provide value to their folks. Most businesses in this room can add 50K to 150K in a single day with joint ventures, many times well over that. So one way to think about this is who already has 25 of your ideal clients as their clients, or well over that if you're working with higher volume. And joint ventures and this way of thinking, really one of the key takeaways I want for you is to reposition how you think about the relationships in your world and how to create more value for everybody involved. So let's say you set up your first joint venture and it brings in 12,000. I'll define joint venture here in a minute. Like, okay, well, not bad. Then you do your next one and it brings in 27K. You're like, that's heading in the right direction. And imagine that joint venture leads to 3 more joint ventures, 2 speaking gigs, 10 referrals, thousands added to your email list, and a new portfolio of clients. And it leads there because you know how to lead it there systematically. So what's it look like in your business if you add 4 of these kind of promos per year? where you're, again, getting in front of other people's audiences. What happens if you add one every month? That's 12 promos a year that you weren't doing today that you add to your lead sourcing. What if you do one every week? That's 52 additional promotions per year. What does that look like? How does the business look different a year from now if you have a system and framework and a way of thinking and ways of connecting and providing value to folks to set these up consistently? And that's simply the old way of thinking about joint ventures. The new way is through embedded partnerships where you're getting paid over and over again from creating a single deal. And again, I'll define all of these things as we go. So you set up those two JVs, not bad. Then you set up a bigger one that brings in 100K. You're like, there we go. This is absolutely worth my time at this point. And you start setting up more of these, some bigger than others. Then you set up one that doesn't deliver any new folks directly, but the host connects you to 3 of their top clients, and 2 of those become your clients. And you start getting a rhythm to setting these things up. And the word starts spreading about what you do to serve and support folks. And this starts expanding. You get invited to completely different networks, completely different groups, and you are teeing these things up like clockwork. And I'll point out, it's not even about the volume of these. It's about finding the right partners, the right 5 to 10 partners. Even the right single partner can change the whole trajectory of your business. There's not a business in this room that couldn't double itself only using joint ventures as your primary lead source over the next 12 months. So I'm curious, how many here are actively using joint ventures in their businesses right now? And this is, again, where you're getting referrals, you're getting connections. Okay, cool. So we've got Emily, Chris, I think I saw, I scrolled. Yeah, Coach AM definitely is. Perfect. And how many of you are using referrals in your business right now? Yeah, referrals are awesome. Big fan. Emily is too, using the tech raised hand. I like it. So today's goals are to find and initiate joint ventures without reaching out to people you don't know, and basically having a framework to tee these things up. We'll also talk about how to take a single joint venture and get paid over and over again from it, and how to build your very own referral pyramid scheme. This is basically a method of connecting with folks around you in a systematic way. And you likely know this already, but I would like to use it as a counterpoint. As a reminder, if you're comparing joint ventures to paid traffic, for example, by the way, how many of you are using paid traffic? Like Google, Facebook, anything like that? Doesn't look like a lot. Okay, cool. If we were comparing it to paid traffic through Facebook, for example, if you came up to your Facebook rep and you're like, I want to triple my traffic, but I don't want to pay for it unless it's converting, then I'll pay for it. When they're done laughing at you, because that is not how paid traffic works, I'd like to point out that's exactly how joint venture traffic works, which is one of the beautiful things about it. So you only pay based on actual results and actual sales, making it a risk-free point of traffic. I'll point out too, it's diversifying your leads across various sources, which not only increases your overall leads, but lowers your risk because you're not dependent on a single lead source. And you're in front of a new audience every time. So you can have the same core message, the same signature talks, the same content, but you're bringing it to new audiences every time. And one of the keys that make joint ventures work so effectively is the transference of trust and authority. It's the difference in coming in front of someone's community with no one introducing you, announcing you, or anything. You just kind of wander up and start talking, and they're like, who's this? Versus having the host say, this is a good friend of mine. I've worked with them. They're phenomenal. Everyone that they work with turns into a golden goose. Like that transference of trust and authority builds credibility, increases how quickly people are willing to jump in and work with you because that box has been ticked as, is this person worthy of your time and input? So as an example, speaking in front of these different rooms like Joe Polish of Genius Network or other ones, that gives you credibility immediately. So people are far more open to your message and the ways that you can serve and support. And that trust and authority increases conversion over paid traffic by 2 to 3 times, and for very high ticket offers, like 20 plus times. So again, you likely already knew that, but I wanted to remind you. So one of my clients helps people determine their why. And I went through his process, and my why is to be the trusted source to simplify things and create a structure that gets people results in a systematic way. So that's what's driving me. And I'll briefly mention how I became the expert of this, just so you have a little context. Worked in the Silicon Valley for 15 years. I was a director at a billion-dollar software company. I left to get a taste of the entrepreneurial freedom I read about in books. I started with a desire to do something bigger, but I was a little too comfortable, quite honestly. And one day I got a call from my mom. She's an OB nurse in Central California. And she had that serious tone in her voice. So I thought maybe one of the kids she adopted from Sierra Leone was having trouble in school or something. It wasn't that. She'd been in a minor car accident the day before. She thought she was pressing the brake, but wasn't, and bumped into the car in front of her. And then that day she was reaching for a fork and physically kept missing it by 6 inches. Took her to the hospital and found she had 2 stage 4 brain tumors. And took her to the hospital. They put her into brain surgery that very night. I could barely walk in my house to tell my family what was going on. We piled in the car and went with her to go to the hospital. And my mom lived 1 year to the day from when I got that call. And it just lit a fire under me. It made me realize how short life is, and how if there's an impact you want to make for the people you serve, a quality of life you want to create for your family, this is the only time we have to make those moves. And for me, that empowered me to choose a new path, the entrepreneur path. I had this piece of wood made, says, I can, I will, end of story, meaning I'm going to burn the boats and figure this out. And that's precisely what I did. I have a mission to improve people's lives. My first product was a low ticket productivity course. I had no list, no connections, brand new to the online space, which means I had no one to sell this course to. So started connecting with people online, in person, and quickly realized my new peer group of entrepreneurs already had my ideal clients in their communities. So I thought, what if I put together free trainings and deliver a high value training to other people's audiences and provide, offer my program? And that quickly grew my list, made sales, made a positive impact. So I thought, what if I do this all the time? What if I took my IT and systems background and simplified and systematized the entire joint venture process? And again, what does your business look like if you're doing this a few times a year or every month or every week, and have a framework and system for doing it? So the reasons, again, joint ventures are key. It's a path to traffic without paying for ads, doing anything with direct messaging. It's a duplicatable process, and it will snap into any business. So the 3 pillars that we're going to be digging into in this process, which we'll jump into right now. By the way, I'd only met this gentleman 10 minutes before he snugly strapped himself behind me like that, which felt a little inappropriate given the duration of our relationship. But when we leaped from the aircraft, all of a sudden I felt really good knowing this gentleman had my back to guide me on this adventure. I have your back when it comes to the topic of joint ventures. So let's talk about these 3 pillars. Number 1, relational marketing, building fantastic relationships.
I can't see your slides right now, Charles. Anybody else see Charles' slides? You see his face. You see his slides? I'm just missing. Okay, that's just my view then. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sure. I could
Yeah.
stop and reshare them if you'd like, Chris.
No. It's me. I probably got a setting wrong on my side. You keep rocking. Yeah.
Okay, so this is a comprehensive approach. It doesn't just focus on the warm traffic, but how you are positioned as the authority to that warm traffic, and then how your irresistible offer is positioned as well. Those three things are working to strengthen the outcomes. The unpopular example I like to use are Russian nesting dolls. The big doll is the strategy, the doll inside it is the warm traffic, and the doll inside of that is the irresistible offer. Since I use that example all the time, I have my very own nesting dolls, except mine are handmade in Ukraine. Thank you, Etsy. I appreciate it. So, continuing on. Okay, so imagine a bus pulling up in front of your house, full of your ideal clients, and the doors swing open, they all pile out onto your lawn, and you're like, wow, that's what joint ventures are. It's getting in front of other people's audiences in a systematic way and doing this regularly. And as we all know, relationships are everything. If you look at the only things that truly matter in life, it's the relationships with your kids, your spouse, your friends, your family, your clients. It's the only true thing that gives life meaning and value. So as we connect with people, we want to connect with open ears, meaning we're listening to what their goals are, what they're looking to achieve, and we're systematically looking for ways to provide them value in the process. So for relationship building, you can do this online, at events, masterminds, and we want to work from warm, WFW. Like there's different perceptions around JVs that you have to reach out to people who have no idea who you are. We actually want to go about it the opposite. We want to work from our warm network and radiate out. And so these are friends, people you're in mastermind groups just like this with, warm intros, connections. And this is truly how you get a return on your masterminds as well. Beyond all the other great things you're learning, the relationships are where the value is truly at. So we want to work from who's around you, including who is in this virtual room right here. When I'm on a physical stage, I have people stand up. We will pretend for the sake of this Zoom call. And just imagine standing up. I'd like to point out you're standing in a room that can make you an extra million or two or more dollars within a year, just based on the relationship capital of those here. So let's touch on some of the reasons why people aren't using joint ventures in their business. Number one, I call it the reciprocation trap. It's the belief that if someone promotes you or refers you, you may have to promote them or refer them. And in reality, that's not the case at all. Now, there's sometimes that is the case, but it's not the case by default. So your offer may be perfect for someone else's, and their offer really may not align well for you and your folks. So it's great to be mindful of what truly serves and supports so that it's easy to differentiate. And I'll point out, it's perfectly fine for other people to promote you while you're not promoting them if it's not aligned, and we'll find other ways to provide them value. The next thing would be maybe your email list is 5,000 people and the folks you may want to work with have 100,000 person email lists. And you're like, well, I'm not at that level, so I'll just chill on this strategy until I am. That's, again, an internal belief. Whereas if you have ways to provide that audience value, it doesn't matter how big your list is to begin with. The whole point is looking for and finding ways to provide value. Other reasons that people don't dive in on JVs, for one, they don't know how the deals are structured, so they don't know how to guide those kind of conversations. They might think it's complicated. They might think there's too many moving parts, or maybe they don't have a person in a JV manager role. And they're just missing out on optimizing JVs further, even if they are doing them. So the solution to these are having frameworks. So we'll start right here, of course. And so what are some of the problems that we can address? Number one, at an in-person event, much less a Zoom one, you might meet people, but if you're not actively connecting and teeing up follow-up conversations, those opportunities walk straight out the door. You want to be able to connect with people and get their contact info and tee up follow-up calls to just have conversations about what they're working on, who their ideal clients are, their core offers, those kind of things. And it's so easy, especially in person. You're just chatting and then you move on without feeling out, is there enough synergy to share contact info and have a follow-up call? And then taking responsibility for getting their contact info, which I'll go into a little more. Sharing your contact info might feel cool, but it is pointless. And I'll tell you why. When you get back from whatever, I'm talking about an in-person event in this example, but when you get back, they have a queue of meetings. Their team is pinging them about 60 things. Their kids need a ride to cheerleading. Like, life moves on, and the opportunities go with it. No one's going to follow up with you. And it's not because you're not great. It's just because people don't. So by being the person who does follow up, you immediately stand out. So I have a few different ways of doing this. One is I've got this little card. You guys have probably seen different QR code scanning tools. And I will share with you anyone who just got the new iOS update. Where's my work phone? Guess it's somewhere else. But anyone with the new iOS update, you can take your phone and just touch it to the top of another iPhone, and it will swap contact info. So it's the easiest it's been in human history to share contact info. It's a really cool feature called name drop. I got to use it for the first time just this last weekend in Utah. I will tell this story because I find it very amusing. So me and this woman just had downloaded the new thing. We're like, let's try name drop. And the woman standing next to her husband, and she's like, I've never done this before. And I said, it's my first time too. Let's do it right in front of your husband. And we did name drop, and it worked really well. So having a way to get other people's contact info, I would also recommend like grab a screenshot, because just because you get the contact info, it will get mixed in with 2,000 other ones in your phone. So point being, you want a system for the follow-ups. There we go. Yeah, you can do that to your LinkedIn. I do it to a little form that they put their name and info, and then my team can ping them for follow-ups.
Yep. Same here, Charles. Mine is a screenshot of a QR code, and it goes straight to our Go High Level CRM and instantly starts an outreach and automation. Like,
yeah, that's
so
absolutely
easy,
absolutely perfect. I just came back from an event in Utah, and I had this ready to go to just show people that they scan. Same thing. It puts it in Go High Level, that drops it over into Asana. And speaking of Asana, each event I go to, which I'm not presuming you guys go to as many events, but the point is, for events that you are going to, I have frameworks for the follow-up. So inside of each of these, I have categories. People I meet, intros I'm going to do for them, consulting leads, referral opportunities, speaking engagements, things that I learned that I may want to implement, or general follow-ups. So by categorizing those follow-ups, now you can prioritize those follow-ups. So maybe kick out a few quick intros for people, or maybe start at who were the consulting leads. Those are the people I'm going to follow up with first. Like I just met with Jim Quick 2 days ago. Right after this meeting, he's going to be the first person I ping to talk about joint ventures with. So having, whether it can be low tech or high tech. You can have a piece of paper with these categories and just write their name. You can have an Evernote note with these categories, pop people in. I do it currently in Asana. But the point is to have a framework for that follow up, because if you compare this to how most people do it, A, they're not getting the contact info to begin with. B, even if they do, it's getting dumped into 1,500 to 3,000 other contacts. They won't even remember who to follow up with, even if they got the contact info. So using these methods make it far easier to follow up. Just send out some follow-up texts or emails. And I'll point out, there is a half-life to relationships. So again, I just flew in from Utah yesterday from an event, and it's all warm and fuzzy. You're sitting there chatting, hitting it off. It's great. Then the next day it drops, that excitement. And the next day it drops. A week from now, they would have no idea who you are. So we want to catch that half-life very early in the process, which means pinging people right away, getting those follow-up calls scheduled. And that's where the actual magic starts coming in. So as an example from an event, intros to do for people, JV opportunities, consulting opportunities, referrals to do for people. And you're capturing these in real time. So it's like Chris and I are chatting, capture this right here, turn over and talk to Dr. Laura. Like if I just turned and started talking to Dr. Laura and didn't write that down, that opportunity just goes, completely evaporates. So we want to be very conscious as we're doing that. So as Chris just said, put them in, dump it into Go High Level or whatever tool you're using, and go from there. Okay, this next one, I made $57K in the last month from this strategy, so you may want to write it down. People on Zoom. So these exact kind of calls. I'll share an example. Like most of us are likely on an array of different kinds of Zoom calls, from mastermind calls, maybe industry-related kinds of calls. So let's presume this is a mastermind kind of scenario. I'll give an example of my friend David Gonzalez. He's run something called the Internet Marketing Party for many years, which is a in-person event in Austin. But when COVID hit, he took it online. And so this was the first one online, obviously a few years ago. And so I come onto the Zoom call. These are industry folks, entrepreneurs, experts. And there was 67 people on that call. And the technique that I will share with you is simple and highly effective. Number one, as you come across people, you'll likely see some people you know and people you don't know. So let's say you see someone you know. I would private message them in the chat. Hey Lee, great to see you on. I'd love to hear what you're up to that has you excited. Up for jumping on a call? If so, feel free to share your booking link or here's mine. So I'd recommend just getting a screenshot of this because you can use this exact copy. And I'll leave that up there for a second more. And then let's say there's someone you don't know. It's very similar. Here we go. Someone you don't know. Just look for someone interesting that you actually would want to talk to. Hey, Kira, great to see you on. Would love to learn more about you and who you serve. Up for jumping on a call? If so, feel free to share your booking link or here is mine. So out of this call with 67 people on it, I messaged about 8 people like that. That teed up several follow-up calls. 3 of them became private clients. Several became joint venture partners. Another became a friend who this week I'm investing in his company. In the Genius Network last month, I messaged 2 people, jump on a call. Turns out they're both great fits for what I do, and they've signed on as clients. Like, it wouldn't have had to go that way. I could have lined up joint ventures, referrals. Like, we're listening to where the synergy is and then guiding a call toward that. So very simple to do. insanely effective, and it's just pinging people in the chat. All right, continuing along. You have your own network of friends, connections, industry peers, previous clients. We want to work from warm, work from the people around us, because it's not just your network, it's theirs too. It's like this whole radiating out. Think how much broader you can go when you have that awareness. So the 4 steps to initiating JVs: build this list of people to reach out to, connect with them, open, providing value, meaning listen to what they're trying to achieve and find ways to help them achieve that faster. That could be a connection, or referring a training, or referring a community, or hearing that a colleague would be a perfect fit for Chris and this mastermind. So sending them over to Chris, like, we're there to serve. And then we follow through. So the types of JVs: number 1, speaking to other people's audiences. This could be done to high-level groups, much like you guys, high-level entrepreneur group. It could also be done broad, like big webinars and mailings to multi-100,000 person lists where they're registering for a training that you're putting on. Everyone who registers gets added to your email list. But you would choose these strategies based on what your own price points are for your offers. If you have high ticket offers, you're going to want to speak to high-end groups. If you have lower ticket offers that serve broadly, then you can go broad in that marketing and reach a lot more people, but they're people willing to invest less in what they're doing. Okay, now my favorite: embedded partnerships. This is where you make a single deal and you get paid over and over again. So I'll share a few examples. Number 1, there's a mastermind actually happening today. I would have been there, but I had this presentation and a few other calls, including with Robert Cialdini, which he's coming on as a client. So that's a real estate focused mastermind. There's 225 members representing 600 businesses. And not only are they coming on as a client, but I'm being added to that group as the go-to joint venture expert and leader within the group. And I'll be booked to speak to that group 3 times next year. That's an embedded partnership where, and you would think of this through your own expertise, but where you're coming into a group or community and you are the go-to person for the thing that you're the expert at, and you're positioned as such. So that's different than coming in as a one-off. This is where you're a staple member of that. A couple fun ones to share from earlier this month, or maybe it was at the end of last month, but like within the month. Well, I'll define this a little more. A single embedded partnership can change everything for your business, and I'll share a very tangible version of that. All right, so 3 of my clients were on stage with Tony Robbins in Orlando at the last event. 2 of them got there through a connection I made, and I taught them how to create embedded partnerships. So their offers are inside of Tony's offer. So as Tony makes a sale of his business mastery, their offer is inside it. So they don't need to do the lead gen or the sales. They're just handed clients. That's an embedded partnership, and they're freaking amazing. Like, they'll be on stage with Tony 3 more times in the next 20 days. I mean, think of the reach, the volume difference that you're able to connect with in a scenario like that. So think again, what groups or communities already have your ideal clients that you can come and present and share value. And then keep in mind, there's the one-off promos, and they don't even have to be promos. You can come in a group and just share value, and the people that want to work with you will seek you out. It's pretty straightforward. In fact, most any room I present in at this point, I'm never making an offer. There's no need to, because the people that are interested just follow up with you. So let's think of other embedded partnership examples of the ones all around you. Your smart TV. all those little apps that come on there, Hulu, Netflix, HBO, that's an embedded partnership. Um, I more examples. I'm the JV expert in Eben Pagan's virtual coach program, and John Assaraf's winning the game of business program, in the Maverick Mastermind, Titan Mastermind, like so many of these groups. I'm the go-to JV person, and I'm just sharing that to show you as a model what you can do in these kind of groups. Um, there's a speaking coach in Genius Network. He didn't even realize he'd set up an embedded partnership. He coaches everyone who does talks for Genius Network. It's part of the whole process. Joel coaches you through your talk, and he's landed 230 10K clients. And he didn't realize that was an embedded partnership. Like, he's just baked into the DNA of that process. And no money's exchanged. Joe's not getting paid for the clients he lands, but he's providing value in that group. And by being someone there providing value first and showing his expertise, he's landing tons of clients. All right. So know what a win is for you, know what a win is for them, plant that seed, figure out the logical place to embed your content or resources or trainings, and off you go. Just an example of this, one of my clients, Jackson Milan, came to me when he was at 1.8 million. A year later, is at 6 million in cash collected through partnerships. He was running Facebook ads that weren't working particularly well and started working a lot worse when Facebook shut down his account. So when he was referred over, he's a quick start if you follow the Colby personality scores. So he hired me immediately, did everything I told him, lined up 70 joint ventures in 2 months, which is kind of crazy. I wouldn't even recommend that. And then I taught him how to create embedded partnerships like we were just talking about. And that's what enabled him to more than triple the business, all the while touring Australia with his wife and 2 dogs in a 4x4 camper van, and then buying a farm with a bunch of kooky animals to have entrepreneurs come reconnect with nature. Okay, next up are referral partnerships. Now, these are the best. So there's client referrals, there's peer referrals. I think a lot of people, by default, just think referrals are from clients only. But keep in mind, someone doesn't have to work with you to know what you're great at and send people to you. So in this process, like, I get 12 to 20 referrals to $1 million plus businesses per week, because there's like a whole system or framework. So the question is, are your referrals by luck? Like, I'm sure you all get referrals. The question is, or are they coming in by design? Is it part of your customer journey? Is it part of looking for the emotional high points, which I'll get into? So a kitschy name for this is your very own referral pyramid scheme, but we would call it a positive one. So just as an example, Todd Hartley, who he was the gentleman on stage with Tony, one of the 3 clients. And when I was in the sales process with him, he recognized Alaric Heck, who runs a $12 million YouTube ads training company. So he messages him. He's like, I'm thinking of working with Charles. What do you think? He's like, go for it. We weren't doing any JVs. 6 weeks later, we were booking 1 a week like clockwork. And then Alaric sends me a video going, told Todd to go for it, booked another JV this week, sold 12 high ticket sales in an hour and a half. Thank you so much. So that's an emotional high point where he's excited and getting results. So look in your customer journey for your clients, the ways you're serving them. Where are the points where they're getting traction with you and they're pumped about it? That's when you specifically follow up on referrals. So there's a couple windows where those work really well. When they first sign up, like Chris, when you first have people sign up, they're excited. They just made a decision. They just invested in themselves by investing in your program or your mastermind. That's a beautiful window to seek referrals, because it's like when you get a new toy, you get a new iPhone, you tell all your friends about it for the first month, and then it dies off. or later you come up with some great solution that's fixing a problem you had, and then you tell people again. So those are the points we're looking to tee up referrals from. Yeah, Alaric had me present to 120 of his high ticket folks. I was hanging out with him last week in Austin. So think if every client's bringing you 1.1 new clients, you never particularly need to market. Okay, next up is wowing your partners. So how do we do that? Well, we focus on relationships over metrics. The better relationships, the better the metrics. So we want to be able to provide people value. One of the easiest ways to do that is through referrals. So by listening to who their ideal clients are, by listening to what rooms they would like to speak at, by listening to who would be a good referral. Like I just connected with a client and he wasn't seeking client referrals. He's like, I'm building out my sales team. I'm like, I've got 2 great intros for you to companies who do just that. So just listen to what they need and tee that up. So you can share client referrals, resource connections, strategy tips, expertise. And those would be professional ways to provide value. But sometimes, like Dan Martell, he's a big SaaS guy. He wanted to go to Burning Man. So I told him exactly how to buy tickets, how to pack. Like you can share value in personal ways. I've given parenting tips. Like you just listen to what people want. And then if it's within your skill set, provide some insights. Okay. So the next problem, to me, it's wild. There's people running all these quite successful companies, but they don't actually know how to guide conversations toward winning outcomes. It's surprising. So we want to design every call to be a win. And that might sound however it sounds, but it's true. Know what the winning outcomes are for you coming out of a call, because the only way to guide a call to a win is knowing what your wins are. So what would be a win for you in a call? Landing a new client, getting a referral, or creating a referral partner ongoing, landing speaking engagements, getting introductions to other industry folks, lining up joint ventures. By being clear, like crystal clear on what a win is for you, it makes it way easier to create those wins and listen for them and tee them up. So as we are wowing our partners, we wow them before a conversation by how we're introduced. If someone they already know, like, and trust introduces you, you come in at a 7 or 8 on their radar, instead of, if you ping them yourself cold, you come in at a 1 or a 2 at most. We wow them during a conversation by being a person who provides value, offers value. And then we wow them after by following up and doing what we said we're going to do. I want to share something with you I call the invisible pitch. It's done at the very top of a conversation that positions you well, seeding the outcome of the call. And we're doing it to build in momentum and authority on the way. So I'm going to share a quick example. So this is a slide from a previous stage, so it wasn't this stage. So pardon the mistype thing here. But as an example, my friend Kat Merritt introduced me to a gentleman named Steve Harwood. We were at a cocktail party. She drug us both across the room. You guys need to meet. The party's winding down, so we exchanged contact info. And this is Steve. So we literally talked for probably 3 or 4 minutes at this event. I got his contact info. I pinged him. We set up a call. All I knew was that he ran a $100 million company, and he had something to do with getting people booked to speak at the War Room Mastermind with Roland Frazier and Ryan Dice. So my goal coming onto the call, beyond getting to know Steve, of course, was if he had something to do with booking those speakers, I want to be one of those speakers. So jump on the call. By the way, Steve does, he sent out 5 million just in partner commissions. He's built that $100 million company on embedded partnerships. That's how big you can take these things. But to go back to the invisible pitch here, so I knew that call would have, well, at least my hope was to have an opportunity to speak at the War Room Mastermind. So I jump on the call with Steve, and I'll go through this scenario. Steve, how's it going, man? Like, where do you live? He's like, I'm in Utah. I'm like, no kidding. I'm going to be in Utah next month to be in a documentary with Robert Kiyosaki. It'd be fun to catch up and have dinner. He's like, sounds awesome. Charles, where are you based? Like Napa Valley. Just went out on my morning run. That cool California fresh air felt great, which was nice to be outside because I've been traveling a lot. Mike Koenig's had me speak at the Wizard Academy in Austin. From there to the Genius Network with Joe Polish. From there, my client Alaric Hex having me present to 120 of his high-ticket clients. Then from there to the Flight Club Mastermind in San Diego to speak. Steve interrupts me and goes, Charles, you should speak at the Final War Room. I'm like, great idea, Steve. That's the invisible pitch. I'm seeding the outcome while demonstrating authority. Now, I'll point out it's not even intended to work that fast, but I was booked to speak at that event within 7 minutes without them ever hearing any of my stuff because of that positioning. So the invisible pitch is quite powerful. Fun fact about Steve, that relationship has continued. I made an offhanded comment that my daughter said I wasn't old because I can still ride a skateboard on a half pipe. So he sends me this in the mail the next week. Pure JV skateboard, my own brand, to my house. Not bad. And then I just spent the weekend with Steve, hanging out with Russell Brunson, Gary Vaynerchuk, all kinds of folks. Not that this matters, but it's never happened to me before. The party we were at had 4 helicopters, including a Black Hawk, which flew over the whole event. Now, the flashy part's not the important part. The important part is relationship building. If I didn't build a relationship with Steve, I wouldn't have gotten booked to speak. That went so well. I've been booked all kinds of other times. And then he's invited me to things like this because we connect and we provide value for each other and we look out for each other. And look how thoughtful this is. Just think of this for your own clients. This guy runs a $100 million company and he has time to do that. You'll never forget someone like that. It's a reflection of character. Like, this is a person who values relationships. And that's something I do and we can all aspire to do at increasingly better levels. Then we wow our partners by being the unicorn that follows up and does what we say we're going to do. That's a key step as well. Notice the unicorn part, most people don't. So you can stand out by being one who does. Okay, as a clear theme here, the fortune's in the follow-up. I'll talk to you about how I follow up with people. I like from the event I was just at, I'll follow up with texts and frequently audio or video. So when it comes to video, you can use this for replying to someone you were introduced to, sending intros, following up from sales calls, JV calls. And I'm doing these all the damn time, like all the time, every day. And I'll tell you why they're great. For one, they're far more personal to receive. Like, you're right there talking to them. They can see the emotion on your face. It's not just a text. And the fact is, it's way faster. Every time I sit to write an email, I hate it. It's the proofreading, it's the writing. I can just hit go on a video or audio, have a message out in a minute, and I'm on to the next thing. So it's received better, and it's far simpler. So win-win right there. All right, so the power of the ping, this one I'll keep quick, but people are like, how do you maintain these relationships over time? When someone comes to mind, just ping them. And that may sound weird, because the first time I was at an event, chatted with a friend for hours. We were wrapping up. He's like, "Hey, if I ever come to mind, just ping me." And I'm like, "Well, that's odd. What if you're at dinner with your kids or delivering a presentation? Like that just seems nuts." I'm like, "I'll do that with everyone and see what happens." So the reason someone comes to mind is something reminded you of them. Maybe you just talked to a good friend of theirs. Maybe like me, I was just in Salt Lake City, so I could message someone. I was just in your city. It's so gorgeous. Like people come to mind for a reason, and simply by pinging them, it keeps you top of mind. It builds the relationship. It keeps you from only pinging them when you need something, which is the fastest way to ruin a relationship. Um, so, just as an example, my friend and client Kane Minkus, one of the other ones on stage with Tony, I pinged him about a new camera I got because he's into video too. And I'm like, "I got this new thing. Here's how it works. I think you'd like it." And he's like, "Cool camera. Do you want to present at this thing with John Assaraf and Roland Frazier and blah, blah, blah?" I wasn't hitting him up about anything like that. It was just maintaining the relationship. And then I'm top of mind. And then I get invited to like a powerhouse lineup of partners. So, power of the ping. Okay, as Jordan Harbinger was quoting from a Harvey Mackay book, so probably should just use a picture of Harvey, even though I haven't met him. Dig the well before you're thirsty, give without expectation, and don't keep score. Doing this as a matter of habit, you'll have so much opportunity coming into your life, you won't know what to do with it. Okay, next up, and how are we doing on time here, Chris? Still doing pretty good?
We have 30 minutes left, so let's get to Q&A as soon as we can. And for those of you who are watching the replay of this, show up live for these things because that's where the magic is the Q&A and the relationships. But yeah, whenever you're ready for Q&A, we'll dive in.
Okay, cool. We're getting close here. So the next thing is, as our businesses scale, we need systems, we need SOPs, tools, because running a business is hard enough with all the different moving parts. And keeping track of everything is, let's just say, a challenge, because we're hit with a barrage of information that comes at us from all directions via email, the web, paper documents, receipts, forms, on the cell, on the phone, at work, and at home. And it's enough to drive you crazy. So we need systems where nothing's falling through the cracks. And then this last core piece is having irresistible offers, how the offers are priced, positioned, communicated, the structure of the offer. So as it gets in front of more of our ideal clients, it just converts at a higher rate. My business partner, Bill Barron, is phenomenal at that. He's helped me with it tremendously to where when we partnered up 2.5 years ago, I didn't change what I was selling, but we did change the market positioning, how is price, position, communicated. At the time for that offer, more than doubling the price, and conversion went up by 4 times. So when you get that offer really dialed, it's pretty profound. So I'll share these just so you see what's possible when you focus on these things that we've been covering today. But like Catherine Dunn came to me when she was at 700K. A year later, she's over 2 million in cash collected. Paulo Mahoney, he does 145,000 a week in joint ventures. 95% of his revenue is through partnerships. Kane Minkus did 1.5 million in the first 6 months. He was at 2.4 million before I got him on Tony's stage. So that's gonna go even further. So life's short. I want you focusing on building great relationships. I want you to create space to focus on your business instead of being stuck in your business, to create space to spend time with your family, create space to nourish these relationships, to create a space station for procreation, the infiltration of a new sensation like meditation, the inebriation, the dedication of the productive nation. Need I mention this new dimension? I have your attention. Now here's your mission. Build great relationships. The reason we build these businesses is to have a better life, higher quality of life, make an impact, as Brian Tracy says, copy what successful people do, you'll get the results successful people get. Now you know how you can find and initiate joint ventures, leveraging your warm network, how to take a single joint venture and get paid over and over for it, how to build your own referral pyramid scheme. When I came into this space, I climbed this mountain by hand. Since then, I've installed an elevator and help folks just pop in and get these things in place with a paint by numbers system. So when you're ready to bridge the gap from where you are to where you know you want to be, to diversify lead sources, to simplify your approach, connect with people in this very group and get these conversations going, schedule a follow-up with them before you hang up, or at least share links and contact info, and jump on a call and make it a win. So love to get to Q&A. If anyone would like to chat with me, that's how you can reach me. But let's jump into Q&A and fire away. Let's start with the ones like, I don't think this works for my business. No.
Yeah, let's roll with this. I'll first of all, Charles, just thank you so much. And for those of you watching the replay, all his information is right here. Hit the QR code. We'll also have whatever links he wants to share down below. And like, make the connection happen. If you get to see this guy speak on a big stage somewhere, if you get to actually have a conversation with him, if he's ever on a podcast or whatever, Google him. He's the real thing. Do this work. Do the deep work. Take the time. That's my questions in a second, Charles, once we end this recording, is just how to make this thing super sustainable, because at scale, this gets difficult. But even on a short-term basis, just 2, 3, 4, 10 relationships can make a significant difference. So, dude, thank you so much for your help.
My pleasure. My pleasure. I love sharing this stuff. So thanks for having me.